Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Stoltari, and I am a passionate traveler and a genealogist. Over the last several years, starting in 2021 actually, I began a series called Les Filles du Roi, the King's Daughters. And I did that for a little while, and by 2023, I decided it was time to do Les Filles à Marier, the marriageable girls. And that is what we're doing today. We're on episode 84. And so we've come a long way. And the marriageable girls, as you will see, are really, really special. And I needed their stories to be told because a lot of times their stories haven't been told. So with that being said, we will get to Les Filles à Marier in a few seconds. But before that, I will show you ways that you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know: subscribe, like, and notify. The next three are ways to help the channel grow. We have Coffee and Patreon, which are external platforms where you can donate. And also I have the YouTube button, which is a super thanks, which a lot of people use. And then on my actual website, Have Roots Will Travel, I have a PayPal button that you can utilize as well to donate as you wish. So thank you to all of you who have done so thus far. You really are the wind beneath my wings. So let's get started on Les Filles à Marier of this episode. Before we begin, let's have a look at Les Filles à Marier. These were women who came between 1634 and 1662 to New France. They are the marriageable girls. These ladies did not come in groups. They came one at a time, maybe a few. They did not have a sponsorship. They did not have any gifts from the government or anything like that. Their passages were usually paid by a church or some sort of organization. But generally speaking, they took their life in their hands, so to speak, and said, you know what, I'm going to try my hand at a new life. And in 1634, as many of you know, this was the beginning of the second stage of Quebec or New France, and there was nothing there. It was a barren, very, very small settlement. So the ladies, particularly those that came before 1655, let's say, these were incredible women to come here. They were literally coming to a land that no one had seen, and it truly was a leap of faith. So to the marriageable girls, we owe an extraordinary debt of gratitude, because you can imagine that the king's daughters afterwards, many of them may have heard of the stories of these filles à marier, and that may have allowed them the courage to pursue this particular path. And so I think les filles à marier are the founding grandmothers of Quebec, if les filles du roi are the founding mothers. Now, there weren't a lot of them. There were actually only 262 that we can identify. So that works out to about 10 a year over a 28-year period. So that's one of the reasons that this particular movement didn't produce enough children and enough colonists to really make a go of it. And this is why the king stepped in 1663 and began with Jean Talon to create the King's Daughters program. So that kind of gives you a background as to what these ladies were there for and what their life was like. So let's get to know one of them a little bit better. So we are doing episode 84, Margaret Thomas. Now, this was a viewer request, and guess what? She's also one of my great-grandmothers, so it was a thrill to be able to study her more in depth. Let's get to know Margaret a little bit better. Margaret was born in 1633, not in France. This was a real treat for me, but in Belgium, in a place called Stavelot in Liège. Her parents were Jean Thomas and Marguerite Frédéric. And this is the church that I believe she was baptized in. And the information that I got was obviously, it was difficult to parse because I'm not a specialist in Belgium. So though any of you who know this area and want to share any information, please do. it was a treat to know that I have a great-grandmother who comes from Belgium. All we know about Margaret's arrival is that it was around 1655. We don't have a name of a ship or anything like that, but we know based on her marriage record that more than likely she arrived in the probably spring or summer of 1655. She selected, and who selected her? His name, Jean Trudel, born in 1629 in a commune called Parfondeval in France. His parents were Jean Trudel and Margaret Noyer. Now you can see that Parfondeval is part of Normandy region, and it is inside of that part of the Orne département or county. Now, this particular small village has about 107 people. So Parfondeval is a very, very quaint and very picturesque little town. The church, the Église Saint-Médard, dates from the 14th century and actually still has its fortifications. Back then, because of the religious strife and all of that, many of the churches had to have actual fortifications so that people could be protected. So it's interesting to observe that as part of this is what they were experiencing. And the church has that still within its purview, and you're able to look at some of the fortifications on that church ground. Know exactly when Jean would come to New France. We do know that he was a weaver, a linen weaver to be exact. So he had a skill that would be much appreciated in the New World. So on November 14th, 1655, at Quebec City, we have Jean and Margaret marrying. They are now man and wife. Let's see where their journey takes them. So they would settle at a place called Ange Gardien, which literally means guardian angel. Ange Gardien is located about 14 kilometers or about 9 miles from Quebec City. Pierre Mailleux and our very own Jean Trudel became the very first two permanent settlers on September 29, 1657. And a first mass was celebrated on October 18th. Of 1664 in the house of our Jean Trudel. In so doing, the territory of Ange Gardien was detached from Château Richer to become its own autonomous parish. By 1664, there were approximately 125 people living there. Gradually, the funds for a church were collected, and in 1675, a stone church was built. A new church was built in 1717, and that one actually caught fire in 1931, and which is ultimately replaced by the one we see here today. Now, in the 1666 census, we have Jean Trudel, who's listed as a Sœur Antoine, which means linen weaver, and Margaret, his wife. Their children, Jean, Pierre, Magdalene, Nicolas, and Antoine, and they have a domestic working for them, Michel Bijoux. So that's kind of an interesting observation to know that they were doing fairly well. So in the 1667 census, we have Jean again, Margaret. It's so interesting to see how she ages 3 years and he only aged 1. And then we have Jeanne, their child Pierre, Madeleine, Nicolas, Antoine, and in so doing, in the space of that year, they also had Philippe, who was 4 months old. They had 9 beasts or cattle and 14 arpents valants, about 11 acres of land. They would go on to have 11 children. Jeanne would marry Jean Gerlais and would have 9 children, 6 of whom would make it to adulthood. Pierre would marry Françoise Lefrançois and would have 10 children, 8 of whom would make it to adulthood. Françoise's mother was Marie-Madeleine Triot, whom we profiled in episode 79. He then married Marguerite Jacob and would have 6 children, all of whom would make it. Marguerite's mother was Jeanne Fressel, who we profiled in episode 29. Madeleine would marry Pierre Lefebvre and have 8 children, 5 of whom would make it to adulthood. Nicolas would marry Barbe Letarte and would have 11 children, 8 of whom would make it to adulthood. Antoine would marry Jeanne Tullier and would have 3 children, 2 of whom would make it to adulthood. Jean would pass away in infancy. Philippe would marry Catherine Garipi and would have 13 children, 8 of whom made it to adulthood. Jean would marry Louise Mathieu and would have 12 children, 9 of whom would make it to adulthood. Marguerite did marry but did not leave any descendants. François would pass away at age 12. Joseph would marry Marie-Catherine Ossan and would have 3 children, 2 of whom would make it to adulthood. In case you're wondering, that pink little square is me, and that is my line. The 1681 census finds our family at Ange-Gardien, and we have Jean at 50 years of age, Marguerite at 48, their children, Nicolas, Philippe, Jean, Marguerite, François. They have 2 guns, 8 bêtes-à-cornes, which are either 8 goats or 8 bulls, anything with a horn, and 30 hectares means about 25 to 26 acres of land. Marguerite would pass away first. She died in 1695, and they were about to celebrate 40 years of marriage. She was only 62 years old, but she would leave us with 286 descendants as of 1729. Jean would not remarry, and he would pass away 4 years later in 1699, and they are both buried at Ange-Gardien. Everyone who has the name Trudel in North America generally comes from this one person, Jean Trudel, and our wonderful Marguerite Thomas. The book, Our French-Canadian Ancestors, Volume 8, features Jean Trudel and will give you a brief biographical sketch. You can see it on our Free French-Canadian Ancestors. This is a Facebook group that you can join, and you can download chapters of what you need. It's wonderful. And it's a wonderful community as well. So please have a check on them. I have posted the link for you to investigate further. As befits a family of such importance, the Trudel Family Association has a wonderful website, which I am going to explore a great deal. So please have a look, and I have included the website address in the notes for you to check out. Final tribute to Jean Trudel, and he was the premier ancêtre de la famille, which is the first ancestor of this family, and he celebrated the first church at Ange-Gardien. And this monument was actually erected in September of 1910. That's how long they have been honoring the gentleman. So I think this is a wonderful, I missed it when I was in Quebec last, but definitely I'm going to circle back, as they say, and check this out the next trip I take. And so ends episode 284. Marguerite, of course, was very special, and the fact that she truly was the helpmate of Jean Trudel, and the importance of that family and that name is with us even today. And the fact that she is my great-grandma is even more special. And I didn't share this when I was recording, but I didn't actually know she was mine. I just kind of said, that's what it's about. So I kind of was cleaning up some branches of my tree, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, she's mine. And I felt like I claimed her. And obviously I'm extraordinarily proud to be part of this legacy. And those of you who are related, please let me know, because that means we're cousins. She was a remarkable lady on so many fronts and left us with almost 300 descendants as of 1729. Truly, truly, we are blessed that she came to our shores. We are grateful that she gave as much as she did. And of course, I have to say, je t'aime, grand-maman. And I also want to say thank you to my patron supporters and subscribers. You all are amazing. Thank you for always being there. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. So I will see you on the next episode of Les Filles Mariées, number 85. Until then, au revoir.